Plaintiff Eddie Rodriguez met the defendant through his nephew, and he thought he was a good guy. Eddie claims the defendant received a substantial inheritance, but he blew through it by purchasing a Mercedes, a BMW, and a Hummer. Eddie claims after the defendant found himself broke, Eddie gave him a loan, but he has yet to be repaid. Defendant Julius Santana admits that he got more than $500,000 in an inheritance and blew through it in 3.5 years. But it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Julius says he had a rough life that included gangbanging and selling drugs. But after he blew his inheritance, he learned what was really important in life.
Prove your case.
Okay, the little background is he's been a friend of ours for about 3 years. He was introduced to me by my nephew, who's been a close friend of his for maybe 15 or 16 years. He moved from New York to Florida, basically to start a new life because he was coming into an inheritance. He came into a substantial amount of inheritance and basically spent it on a lot of bling. He bought himself a Mercedes-Benz, a BMW, upgraded that to a 740i, bought himself Rolexes and what they call the Breitling watches.
Oh, wow.
And really had a fantastic time spending it. And I never knew what a Breitling watch was because, Your Honor, this is a Timex. So it came to a point where he came down on his luck. And I've always been sympathetic because he is a great individual. He'd give you the shirt off his back, except this time around he wound up giving his shirt and wound up naked.
Let me hear from you, sir. He says you popped off your entire inheritance. You forgot the one part, going to strip clubs.
I wasn't with him for that.
Well, right?
I don't go to strip clubs.
You didn't go to strip club and make it rain? Throw all the money up in the air. Make it rain. Guys throw thousands of dollars in the air, and they're proud of it. They even fight over it. One of the athletes in the NFL was suspended because he got into a fight and threw $80,000 in the air. And then he tried to get some of it back. He changed his mind. But no, they throw the drug dealers, the basketball players, the athletes, they go into the strip clubs and make it rain. So you weren't making it rain with your money?
In other ways.
Other ways, all right, you tell me.
Quite frankly, yes, I blew in excess of $500,000.
Oh my goodness, in what time period, sir?
I'd say about 3.5 years, somewhat. Okay, and truthfully, Your Honor, in everybody's eyes, it's very foolish. And frankly, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why?
Why? Because prior to that money, my life was streets, drugs, crime. My mother received $9 million settlement. My little brother was paralyzed at birth. My mother wasn't into drugs. My mother, 4 years after that, was shot in the head in front of me.
Oh, my goodness.
After that, even though I'm from the windy city of Chicago, raised here in north side of Chicago, Humboldt Park, and I've never really had a family setting. I was raised by the streets. I never had Christmas, birthdays, none of that. The streets was my life. Mm-hmm. When that happened to me, I still managed to have 4.0 grade average in school.
Really?
Witnessing this event just threw me downhill. I went and became a gangbanger. I sold drugs. I sold the same drugs that took my mother's life, heroin. Landed me in prison for 9 years. Coming into this money prior to this, I wouldn't be here. I'd be dead.
But did you receive the money after prison, when you were released?
After prison.
Okay.
But after prison, about a year or so later, 2 years later, yes.
Okay.
A couple years later. So, through the course of witnessing this in my life of crime, I just said, you don't understand what you go through in life, or how you're affected by events that you witness. And prior to receiving this money, I should be a dead man. A friend of mine's got killed, and you know how the streets are. Somebody, you're gonna react to it because he got killed. And his nephew was a friend of mine for 18 years. He said, you gotta get out of here. You're getting some money, get out of here. We went down to Florida. I met Mr. Eddie Rodriguez. His family became my family. The first family that I felt was family was that man and his family. They welcomed me with open arms, and I'm grateful to it.
Yeah. When were you broke?
When was I broke? I was broke approximately maybe a year ago, completely broke.
All right. Let me hear from you about the loan you made to him, sir.
I went with him to the bank. He received a substantial amount of that money in May of the previous year, of 2008. He was broke by January 2009. So it wasn't, I believe it wasn't over a 3 year period.
Your Honor, if I can interject, understand this much. Like I said, this money was the same thing as selling drugs. Mm-hmm. This money was the same thing as doing crime. I want you to feel my pain. In the sense of crime, but with this money here, I still ran. I want to spend it. I medicated myself by buying watches, cars, thinking that I erased my past. It didn't. It doesn't matter. $500,000 is not a lot of money if you look at
Well,
it.
a lot of people will go through money. They never learned how to manage money, and certainly you wouldn't have learned how to manage money with the life that you lived. A lot of these rappers, a lot of them have $1 million worth of jewelry on.
Right.
And 5 years later, they're filing for bankruptcy because they spent all their money on things that were essentially overpriced and frivolous, quite frankly, and a lot of them end up pawning it for $100,000, 10 cents on the dollar, and then you can't go back because you never get the $100,000 to get it out of pawn, so you lose your $1 million altogether. Am I right or wrong? Isn't that how it goes?
Yes, yes, but you understand, why do they do that? Because you're empty inside.
You may have a point. You may have a point. It makes them feel better about themselves. You may have a point. Go ahead, sir. Talk about this loan in particular.
He had borrowed this money. He came to me. He told me he was down on his luck. He borrowed $5,000 from me. And I knew he was down on his luck because I had seen him go through this money. So I wanted some assurance. He gave me the title to his Hummer. I'm driving down the street. I look at the car dealership in my neighborhood, and there's his Hummer for sale. That's when I called him, and he said basically that he was going to give me some money, which he gave me like $1,150, and that he would owe me the rest. This was in mid-January, and here we are now, and the balance is still due.
Sir?
Your Honor, yes, he did lend me the money, and I had every intention to pay back, but it didn't fall my way.
Popped it off.
It didn't fall my way.
Your witness want to speak?
Well, she's just a witness. I loaned her son some money previous to all of this.
Whose son? Hers?
Eddie's son.
Okay.
Eddie's son. So, at my point, I figure, you know, friends help friends. I lend your son money, you lend me money. Let's call it even. Let's call it a day.
Did you tell him that?
No, I did not.
Sir, you hear his...
Well, my son's a grown boy. If he borrows money, he's responsible. If you borrow money from me, you're responsible.
He makes a good point. You admit that you owe. I applaud you for getting out of the streets. I applaud you for that. And I wish you good luck in the future. And hopefully you learn that you need to manage your money more carefully. And,
pick better friends.
And make better friends as well.
Well, I've always been a good friend. I've always been a good friend.
Not you per se, the people that surrounded me in those times. That's my best friend ever.
You appreciate the things that he and his family have done, right?
He's very dear to me, but I help a lot of people along the way also.
Don't let this cause you to fall out. $4,168 for the plaintiff. Have a good day.